It's good.
Good day, everybody. Welcome to the Dead Man Walking podcast. I am your host, Repeatedly Dead Fred, author of the soon to be released memoir, The Summer I Died 20 Times, which is a true story. And that's how I got the name Repeatedly Dead Fred. Kind of makes sense, doesn't it? So today I am doing one of my authors series podcasts, and we have not only an author but an actual publisher. We have Regan Rothe from Black Rose Writes, and which is a small independent just outside of San Antonio. And I guess full disclosure, he's going to be publishing my book. So Regan, thanks for coming on. Nice to have you here.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm happy to chat with you today.
Yeah, we're a little bit kindred spirits because you've also had some crazy heart issues as well as me. So I don't know if that's part of the reason you took me on as an author, but you know, I appreciate it, and there was no guarantee I was going to finish writing my book. So
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a connection there. When we read the your initial submission, of course, it piqued my interest from that element, and then we did our due diligence and passed it through our review team, who does a very strict job following kind of what we're looking for, and the story was definitely something we wanted to publish. And yeah, so I've had the 3 open heart surgeries, but like I'm hoping I don't get anywhere near your career records. So you're there. Hopefully they're safe. I don't want to break any of your records.
yeah, I hope you're safe too. It's not a record worth aspiring to. So so do you want to talk a little bit about how you've created this little publishing empire? I mean, as a newbie to the industry, I had no idea how much was involved in writing a book and getting it to market, and the millions of little things you have to do, um, even if you're with a publisher, that you have to market on your own and set up on your own. So, do you want to talk about how you got started in this crazy business?
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, you're finding out that writing the book was actually the easy part.
Yes.
Um, no, we so through my own writing experiences and being published by a couple different publishers, I kind of took my experiences and tried to create something that was, just more personable. Tried to create like a family atmosphere for our authors to be able to connect, help each other out, and just work hard for authors to do everything. We stay flexible and learn, and so we kind of jumped in, uh you know without a lot of hesitation in the beginning, and did it on a part-time basis, so that kind of really helped um minimize mistakes.
Mhm.
They weren't detrimental. They weren't costly on a large scale. So we I worked, did construction, and then we published books.
Mhm.
I published books just whenever I had that free time. And as we did that for a few years, I was able to look at those numbers and put all the data together and say, like, okay, this is, if I worked a full day doing this is how much I could do. If these projections in terms of author sales, royalties, the money coming in, at that time, obviously it was just for me, or I was the only staff member.
Mhm.
So off those projections, it was like, I think this could be successful, and if we can grow, obviously it could be more successful. And that was in 2009, and we've grown financially every year since then. We now have 5 full-time staff members and about 15 freelancers, and I think the number is, give or take, like 525 authors under contract right now.
That's amazing. So when you were the sole employee, those staff meetings must have been kind of a grind.
They were. They were. I had to, ask myself if the, if a book cover looked good, and then I had to answer, whether it looked good or not. And
Mhm.
yeah, sometimes we'll find some of our old book covers, and the team likes to give me a hard time because they were adequate, but they are nowhere near as good as David King and our current freelance designers that put together covers now.
Yeah, it, what they did for my cover is pretty amazing. And I've seen some of the other covers because we have this super ultra secret um, Facebook group that only the Black Rose writing group is allowed into, and people are excited about their books coming out, and they share covers, and a couple of them just been drop dead amazing. So I thought mine was good until I saw a couple of the others.
Yeah.
So, and the team has been, so supportive of everything I've asked about and asked for. So you've put together a really, really good team.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It was, one of the lead factors in kind of how I felt, you know, putting our team together was getting people in the right roles, and all of our staff were that's currently with us are staff members that I knew before Black Rose Writing, um, and we had a relationship, and so there was already kind of a built-in trust, and I already knew a lot of their strengths and weaknesses, I think,
Mhm,
and just getting them in the right spot. And then I think sometimes having people that are not experts on on things, can
mhm,
kind of help, um, you know, kind of gel any working relationship, because you're able to mold and kind of train to do things that you want, versus someone coming in saying, well, this is how I've always done it, this is how we do it. And I
mhm.
think that helps the workflow as well.
Yeah, and I think when you're not an expert, you're also a little more of an outside the box thinker. Um, that helps you see other perspectives that you wouldn't normally look for. So that's what I'm finding with my journey here is, I never thought I'd have to learn how to edit a podcast. And, thank you, YouTube.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
So you've got your own books. Do you want to share a little bit about your own books?
Yeah, I mean, I've got the children's stories have been kind of my best selling material, and those I still market. I like to eat children, which is the Halloween children's
Mhm,
story that we do quite well with every fall. And then also, our authors, a lot of us go to the Texas Frightmare weekend, and it does real well there at the horror convention. Um, so
what is
that, and then
that?
yeah, that's it's in Dallas, and it's the biggest horror convention in the United States, or in North America, I guess they claim. And
Mhm,
and we always have a booth there, and have our suspense, thriller, horror, those true crime even authors, and signed copies. And I've always had my children's scary story, and
mhm,
uh it, it's a great audience, if you're in the that type of movies and that cult following, then it's something everyone
mhm,
should try to attend, I think, at least once. You see a lot of characters, and like almost half the people that attend dress up in some sort of costume, or their favorite horror character. And yeah, so that's great. And then I've been working on a Kindle Vella,
mhm,
titled Blood Groove, and that's been my uh, most passionate project, I think, to date, and most enjoyable, releasing it in episodes. And there are
mhm,
now 11 episodes out on Kindle Vella, and I think there's 14 scheduled, so three more scheduled, and then I'm trying to write a few more that'll wrap up book one of that novella.
mhm. So did you have to approve yourself on that project, or did somebody else in the company say that that's good to go?
I proved it myself. Yeah, didn't. I did get felt like I got some real good beta reading validation,
Mhm.
but yeah, otherwise approved directly by me.
So, how are people finding your company? Like I think you prefer not to work through agents. Um,
No, we work through agents. It's just not a
you
higher
do?
the higher percentage. Yeah, we have about probably about 10% of our authors are agented.
Hmm.
So yeah, we don't have any issues working through agents. We just always want to make sure authors are aware that there's a couple different levels of agents. There's those that actively help with marketing
Hmm.
and help their authors post contract. And then there's some that basically once they get an author a publishing contract or whatever, they kind of that's kind of the end of it. They pretty much they just get paid royalties for really not. I mean, yeah, if they found the publisher, that's a good thing, but they don't really do much after that.
Hmm. I have a friend who's published by a big traditional publisher, and she told me her agent takes 20%. And I was stunned by that amount because I know NFL players, their agents are limited to like 3% max. And those are much bigger contracts. So I was kind of shocked uh, at that process. Anyhow, so how are most people finding you uh, to approach you about publishing their works?
Yeah, so I would say there's a few different channels. One would be fellow author, word of mouth, editors, things, uh, people in the literary industry that are saying, "Hey, you should submit your book to Black Rose Writing." We get those a lot. We also get a lot of submissions that have seen like ads for other books. So
Mhm.
Amazon ads, Facebook ads of one book that they clicked on it and they bought the book or they enjoyed the book and then they realized, okay, I'm a fellow author and this is the company who published that book that I liked, and so they reach out that way. Um, Another method would be when we go to book festivals, things like that. We'll meet a lot of authors that then end up submitting to us that way. And then the other one would just be online listings, like being listed on um, different like writers market, Duotrope, and there's a lot of other just top 50 indie publishers or like a big list of indie publishers, and so we'll get submissions from that as well.
Mhm. Well, I found you through a Facebook group I'm involved with that's Toronto based, which is where I'm from. And I asked the lady who runs the group if she knew of anybody who had a publisher. And like 2 hours later, she came back and she said, I don't even know who the author was, but you probably got a couple of authors in Toronto. But she said she had published through you and you guys were, really, really excellent and treated her really well. And I think you've also got somebody from Guelph, Ontario. He's a policeman.
uh yeah, is that John Hunt? That would be,
Yeah,
I believe
yeah.
you're, yes. Yep. And so we do have, I know John Hunt and then AJ McCarthy, and then there's a pretty good list of Canadian authors. I don't want to,
Mhm.
but yeah, so that would be it. So yeah, you found this through a Facebook group. So that's always music to my ears when another author is recommending. I mean that's
Yeah.
the validation we seek. We don't, we're not looking for validation from writers that have never worked with us. We care about our own.
Mhm. I actually had a a chat with John before I signed up with you, and he also gave me really positive feedback. He's got quite the fascinating life. I don't want to talk about his life. That's his story to tell. But he was a homicide detective. So
Yes.
it's a crazy, crazy story. But John, come on the podcast.
I'm
So,
sure you can get him. Yeah, he likes doing podcasts. I think they run their own kind of movie podcast as well.
oh, okay. I didn't know that. I'll give him another message then. So, are there any genres that are hotter than others right now, or is there sort of a cycle of genres that you go through?
Yeah, I mean, we feel like our kind of bread and butter are going to be the main, mystery thriller, um, romance, sci-fi, and then our fantasy. We're trying to. We've got a lot of fantasy books, but we've never really had what we feel is like a breakthrough best-selling fantasy. We've got some really good ones, but not a series that's just that's picking up like the other genres, like the literary fiction or women's fiction. And then true crime, we're always actively like, if you write true crime, send it our way. That's one of our favorite things to review, and just something we're always wanting to expand on and can't seem to get enough of that quota for true crime. Um, and so yeah, that's not necessarily any that are hotter than others. I really think it's more so the book, the author, and the marketing.
How much does the author's personality play into how well they market or get marketed?
Yeah, I think that's a lot. I mean, I think obviously being um, aggressive and being open to talking to readers and putting yourself out there, and even like on social media, being more personable and
Hmm.
developing that rapport with fans and followers, it can be very helpful in terms of selling your book. Where I know a lot of writers are, very reclusive. I mean, that's part of being a
Hmm.
writer, and not like a lot of people express through their writing, and they're not, you know, a lot of not as comfortable talking to people, or maybe socially awkward. And we've met a lot of those authors at our book
Hmm.
festivals, and so we have to try to break that shell down and get them out of their box a little bit, and out of their comfort zone, because it is. I mean, if you just sit back and expect people to buy your book, it's not usually going to happen. Like, you have to be willing to engage.
Yeah, that's a tough part. And engagement, I'm learning, is more than just posting on your LinkedIn that I've done this podcast or that podcast, or the same on Instagram. You have to find a way to get a little bit of, excuse me, back and forth with people, and that's probably the toughest thing, is finding the time to do that, because you're being pulled in so many different directions. And I really don't think someone like Mark Twain had to go through this.
no, 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 definitely not. Unfortunately, a lot of authors still think that their publishing experience should be like Mark Twain,
Hmm.
and it leads them to a very false reality, um,
Hmm.
where even authors who publish with the big five publishers, they're expected uh, to be, you know, available to market, to do their own marketing, to do all these things as well. And
Hmm.
I think it really does. There, I think it'd be very difficult to find a best-selling or household name author that at one point, modern times, at one point, um, didn't do a lot of their own marketing, or paid marketing, everything. Um, and I and in both ways, where I don't think one-sided works anymore. I think it's the most successful projects are because the author and the publisher both worked aggressively, and one or the other found that right, whatever tactic was working, and kind of built on that, and that's what
Hmm.
created that successful experience.
Hmm. One of the interesting things I found, because I'm, a marketing person background, even with the bigger traditional publishers, I always found it really interesting that you'd submit, uh, something for their consideration, and they read your 10 or 20 or 30 pages, and they know what genre the book is. And they say, well, who do you think the target market is? And I'd always think, well, dude, you've been doing this for 150 years. If you don't know who the target market is, for this genre, how am I, little independent person supposed to figure that out? You know, I mean, you should have that.
Yeah, but I think the author also has some of the tidbits, like some of the niche things where it's like, yes, your book is historical fiction, but historical
Hmm.
fiction doesn't by any means cover, well, is it Gilded Age? Is it medieval?
Hmm.
Is it, is it early American, historical? So all of those little genre tropes are what, can really help pinpoint that niche marketing,
Hmm.
and really, it increases your conversion rate and everything. Where if I'm just, uh, you know targeting historical fiction, yes, you're lumped into that big pool, but if you can narrow it
Hmm.
down and narrow down your target audience, your conversion's going to be much higher on any advertising.
Hmm. That those codes you had me look up, or whoever it was from the team that had me looking up all those subsection codes. I forget what the organization is that creates all these codes,
The
differentiate the
BISAC
genres.
codes.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was like mind blowing. There's like what 28,000 of them.
Yes. Well, yeah. When you go to fiction, obviously it's not so bad because you just go to fiction and then you're in fiction. But anything that's nonfiction, you've got all of these main categories. It's like, well, like your book, obviously you could go under, biography, and memoir.
Hmm.
You could go under that one, and then there's all the subcategories. But then you could also go, to science, or you could go to health, or you could go to social. I mean, there's so many different big ones. So yeah, for
Yeah,
nonfiction, it can be hard to narrow to pick three, and so that's why I think really trying to be specific and hit those niche audiences and not just say like, oh, it's a personal memoir. Well, like what exactly, type of memoir is it? I think that helps, in terms of getting traffic to your book.
I hope so. I really hope so. That was excruciating. Which I'm in like mental health. I'm in near death. I'm in all these different places. So pick one. I know in one of my writing groups, which has usually about 35 active people. There's a lot of historical fiction being written right now, and it seems there's the people that understand that historical fiction is fiction, and then there's the other half that say, "Wait, that's not accurate. You're making stuff up." Like, what part of fiction don't you guys get? It's really funny how people sort of stand their ground and and don't get the genre.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. We even get authors that we have to continue to like, wait a minute, we reviewed this book as fiction, or we reviewed this book as nonfiction, and now you're telling us through your BISAC codes that it might be something else. So let's figure out first what it is. Is it true or is it not true?
Mhm. Yeah, I have never really read historical fiction until we started being beta readers for some of the people in the group, and it's fascinating, fascinating stuff. So um, you could just recreate a world, recreate a history, but um, you know, I would have never thought that that was a genre I would have liked, but turns out it is.
Yeah, it's just whatever part of history is your cup of tea. I think that it can definitely be a readable genre.
I should have figured that out because I enjoyed watching episodes of Drunk History, which is a little bit in that genre. So um, I think there's somebody in the group that in the Facebook group that has a podcast that's sort of like the drunk history for authors.
In our out of our authors, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who it is. I just saw her the other week, but it's really funny. They're pounding back drinks as they're doing the podcast.
That's great. That's
I thought it was hilarious. So, yeah, that's however you can market yourself and your product. I think that's amazing. So, what's next for Black Rose? What do you where do you guys see yourself going, or what do you want to work on specifically?
Yeah, so we're at a comfortable quantity on our book releases, like per calendar year. So
Mhm.
we're good on that end. We're very comfortable staff wise in terms of workload. And so kind of our main I guess two main focuses for 2023 would be continuing to create exceptional, content in terms of like cover design, book layout,
Mhm.
our metadata, which like the keywords and optimizing our books. So continuing to have that as good as it can be. And then the main focus would be on marketing and continuing to improve and sell more copies of each book. That's been our goal. I mean, of course, we always want to sell more books, but 2022 we really did a 2021. I think we first started scaling our marketing up a little more aggressively.
Mhm.
We did so in 2022 as well. We pulled back for a while to try some different testing in the sea. Um, because if you just kind of keep scaling, um, it's hard to always see like, are we making, uh, this that much more money than what we would be making if we weren't marketing. Whereas like if we turned off all marketing, would we
Mhm.
make more money versus, just on organic sales and author sales? So we kind of balanced that out last year to be able to review that data. And then in December, we've started scaling up again. Uh, and I've talked about this through a couple of our live sessions with our authors
Mhm.
recently, but Amazon um, has attribution abilities tags now for Facebook ads, BookBub ads, so we can track those, very detailed and get the data we need to know exactly if a ad target is positive or not. Um, so with that, we have started significantly scaling the start January, and every week we've increased some of our marketing budget for those successful ads, and we're
Mhm.
hoping to continue to grow that, as the year goes on.
So circling back to the authors have to market themselves, like probably once or twice a week, you send out something about, I guess, a supplemental marketing that the authors can do. And, these are things I've never heard of. I haven't heard of any of these organizations. So how do you find these or do they find you?
A lot of them, some of them do reach out to us. We'll send emails saying like, hey, maybe we've worked with one of your authors, like one of our authors worked with them directly.
Mhm.
They'll reach out to us. A lot of them are just through our marketing and research over the years, and being able to. One of the things we try to do is make sure authors get either discounts or shared costs with us on
Mhm.
marketing. Where obviously if you're a self-published author, you're like, hey, I can do all this stuff, um,
Mhm.
and make 100% of the royalties because I'm self-published. So to try to offset that and give us a competitive edge, we can respond by saying yes, you are getting 100% of your royalties, but to be on NetGalley, you might have to pay $399 or $349 or whatever.
Mhm.
Where with Black Rose, a lot of times we'll have that opportunity for like $149 or less, and share that cost with the author. So we're both benefiting, and it saves them money and it gives them that
Mhm.
opportunity. One of the things we wanted to do was always market our books, which we've done, but also not make that exclusive to only some authors. Not say, Fred,
Mhm.
like, we're not going to put your book here, or we're not going to do this for your book, so therefore there's no opportunity. What we've tried to do is say, Fred, we're not going to do this for your book particularly, but maybe if you did want to do it, we would share the cost, or here's a discounted cost. We just want to make sure our authors have the ability to say no and just have those opportunities, and then they can make that decision on their own.
Yeah, I think that's a huge differentiator between you and I guess they're called the vanity publishers who just seem to, this is what we're going to charge to publish your book, and then there's, unseen cost after unseen cost after unseen cost, and um, you end up making nothing, and it just seems to make money for the so-called publisher. um,
Yeah, and there's no pay to be published with Black Rose Writing. If you wanted to, your 100% goal was to not spend one penny ever, then you
mhm,
wouldn't spend one penny ever. We would market your books, and do what we, to do the best we could for your books. And if you wanted to market your books without spending money, but obviously spending your time, then we have authors that go that route, and that's perfectly fine. Um, but to be successful, and give yourself the most chance for success, I think it's more realistic to expect to spend and invest in yourself as an author. I mean, that's kind of, for me as an author, that's why I write, is because I want to be able to invest in myself, and
mhm,
share that, and I'm willing to spend uh, money, that's within budget, obviously, for any author, but willing to do that to be able to find more readers that I wouldn't be able to find otherwise.
mhm. Have you ever had an author that all of a sudden says, "Hey, I've come into like a crazy amount of money, so here's like an extra $100,000 for marketing and just go nuts."
No, that would be great. I could do a lot with that budget. Um, yeah, we could scale a lot. We've had authors that do that are pretty open in terms of like spending more money and saying, hey, like don't worry about budget on some stuff. But yeah, none as big as that, and we don't try to ever uh, say like that's an amount that we would need for marketing.
Mhm,
but yeah, that'd be fun to be able to spin that for an author.
mhm. For sure. I
Is
wish I
that what
had
you're
that.
planning? Is that what you're planning for your book? Or no?
Well, I'll have to check my lottery tickets, but if they
Yeah,
come
yeah.
up big, yeah, you'll be getting a call. So,
All right.
okay. So Reagan, we're almost out of time. If somebody wants to get hold of you and submit something or talk to you about anything publishing wise, what's the best way to connect with you?
Yeah, so blackrosewriting.com. There's a submission form on the site. It's perfectly tailored to give you the best chance to getting your book reviewed by our team. So make sure you fill out all the information. We put it on there for a reason. Um, we've revised that thing, and um, it's not something we take lightly. So if it's on there and we're asking you, that there's a reason why. And then my email is creator@blackrosewriting.com.
I love
And
that.
I think and I think we have a lot of the I mean, we have the staff bios and their emails on the site. So yeah, that's pretty much the best place to reach us.
Yeah, and I think some of the employees, there's a Star Wars theme in the background, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of, yeah, Chris Miller's our social media
Yeah.
marketing Jedi.
Yeah.
And yeah, we have a lot of Star Wars, and I mean, just a lot of fantasy and sci-fi. Um,
Mhm,
you know, I guess following for the staff, and it's real big.
mhm. Well, happy employees do better work. So it sounds like you've got a really happy group there. And everybody I've dealt with has been really pleasant. So uh, kudos to you. And I wish you continued success, especially with my book.
I agree. Thank you very much for having me.
My pleasure. Thank you, everybody, for listening in to the Dead Man Walking podcast. Please like, subscribe, go visit Reagan's website, submit something really quality to help him grow the company. And like, subscribe, all those other things the cool kids tell you to do at the end of these podcasts. And have yourself a great week. See you next episode. Bye bye.